Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 63. Hello a croeso I podcast rhif 63. My name is Mr. Gareth Evans and joining me today is Henry the Maneater Cooper.
I mean, that's going to get people asking questions that they were already pondering, but...
One of your favourite pastimes, isn't it, Henry? Eating men?
I love eating men.
I almost spat on my tea.
I should have prepared notes up. There's like 3 different songs called Maneater. I should have had that as my theme tune.
There you go. Well, you know, I mean, you've been eating men this week. I've been, that sounds so weird. I've been playing a little bit of RDR2 on a PC because I finally buckled, right? It's one of those games that I didn't complete on the PS4. And since it's been on PC, I've been kind of craving to get back into it and try and play it and try to see if the experience on the PC is better. I'm not going to talk about it at length in this podcast, but I will mention that that's what I've been playing the last couple of days. I picked it up on Epic Store. I know, it's Epic Store. A lot of people don't like Epic Store. So what? It was cheap, yeah. Right? I got it for like 33 quid because I redeemed GTA 5, so I got like a voucher or something, and it was in a sale, so I got it for 33 quid, which I reckon is a good deal for RDR2 because it never ever goes on a sale. And I've been playing it, and one of my first things is like, why can't I just get a simple mod to fast travel? Like I'm already googling Nexus mods to get it's like there's no specific fast travel mods, but there's a fast travel feature in some of the mods, so I'm already looking at that. And also like the cumbersome controlling, first person control, it just doesn't feel like a first person game at all. It's like dead cumbersome. You've got this head bob in, and then when you turn, it's like, oh. Anyway, I'm going to overcome those little gripes with mods, hopefully, if I can find a better control mod, and just try and play it as authentically as possible, and not have to travel by bloody slow horse for the whole time. I think that'll definitely help me. So yeah, that's my objective over the next couple of weeks. Although Minecraft Dungeons is out next week, and that's going to be a good one. The kids are off school. I think I might pick that up with them. I don't know. And then it's like a couple of weeks, and then Last of Us 2, right?
Yeah, The Last of Us is such an unpleasant thing to talk about at the moment because there's so many mad people who are completely hating it and mad people who are blindly loving everything they do. So it's kind of hard to talk about, and like I mean, I'm excited for it because I love the first one, but I've got trepidations because some of the leaks I know about without spoiling it. Give me pause, to say the least.
Have you seen the new gameplay?
Oh, it was rubbish. It was one of the worst little gameplay trailer things ever. Especially the Ghost of Tsushima one. It was really good because they showed they had people talking and you could actually see stuff. It didn't show a lot, but it was narrated with someone explaining what was going on over the top. You didn't need to see them. This bloody Last of Us one was meant to be an in-depth gameplay thing, and most of it was close-up shots on camera of the devs being like, this is what we mean when we do this. We put in a jump button. All right. I rally for the jump button in every game, and I'm glad that it's in The Last of Us, but it's not exactly a genre-defining feature. I get that they're like, yeah, we've put it in, and now Ellie moves differently to Joel, and this and this and this, and like, cool, but show me. You're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, we must preface everything we say about Last of Us Part 2 at the moment, the fact that we haven't been exposed to any of the leaks, and we're not going to talk about the leaks, right? So there's a lot of people generating content.
I've seen some stuff, but I'm not looking for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people generating, what have they done to Last of Us, and all this kind of clickbaity stuff. And I'm for the time being anyway, I've not lowered myself to watching those videos because I do genuinely want to experience the game like they've created it, right? I don't want to be influenced.
But if you do want to. If you do want to watch that stuff, by all means, but it's not the kind of stuff we're going to be producing. So if you want that, by all means, go look elsewhere. But don't come looking for it from us. Certainly not until after launch, because after launch, if we hate it, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably watch all that. We'll probably retrospectively watch all this stuff, but
yeah, exactly.
Not right now.
And with that, let's talk briefly about what will be in today's podcast. And I am going to talk about G2A. Now, are G2A cleaning up their act is the question I'm posing today, because there's been a development. They've fulfilled the promise of giving 10 times the value of stolen keys that sold through their site back to a studio. So they paid some compensation to a studio, and there's some chat and discussion around that. Henry's been playing Maneater. He's been eating men. If you hadn't,
it's a video game. It's not what I
clandestine
hobby.
Well, that's not what we're talking.
No doubt many people think that anyway.
We're not talking specifically about that in this podcast. After that, we're going to go to the Discord questions. These are the questions put to us by the Patreon community. After that, we're going to take a triggered fanboy comment of the week, and then we'll read some other YouTube comments, and then a bad dad joke of the week. So first up, G2A. Are they cleaning up their act? Well, they're definitely trying to make people think that. Let's put it that way. So the whole hubbub around stolen keys on G2A was brought into the limelight last year by Mike Rose of No More Robots, and he tweeted the following in June. G2A has taken out sponsored ads on Google, which meant that when you search for our games, you get G2A popping up above our own links. And we make zero money on our games if people buy through the ads. Please, if you're going to buy a game from G2A, just pirate it instead. Genuinely. Devs don't see a penny either way. Would much rather G2A don't see money either. So that was a very harsh condemnation of G2A by Mike Rose's... No More Robots is Mike Rose. A couple of other devs jumped in to back him up. Vlambeer co-founder Rami Ismail and Squid Games also followed up saying the same thing. Pirate our games instead. Rami Ismail said the following quote: "These sites cost us so much potential dev time in customer service, investigating fake key requests, figuring out credit card chargebacks and more." Now, remember that these are independent devs or small, very indie dev studios, right? They don't have a lot of resources for departments to go seeking, reparations for damages based on stolen keys and stuff like that. So the accusation is that these G2A is a key reseller site. For those of you who are not familiar, so it's like eBay. So if you've got a key to sell, you go to G2A, you can sell it to consumers. The problem being that a lot of crooks are using the site to launder money, essentially. So if they steal credit card information, or have got credit cards, what they do is they buy a load of keys for games with that credit card. They go to G2A and sell the games and make a load of money. That's how they turn the stolen credit card into a lot of money. What happens then is the credit card gets cancelled, and all that money that got put on that credit card gets charged back. So essentially what happens is that money that the devs made from selling the games to the crook gets given back to the credit card issuer, and the devs lose loads of money, and all the games are gone. And these keys, these stolen keys or crooked keys, dodgy keys, are out there now, and they won't see any money from people buying their games instead. So that's how the scam works, and G2A have long been accused of not cracking down not cracking down in this type of shit, right? So based on that, what happened last year, or this jumping into the news, this limelight that they got, they said, well, hang on, if you can prove that there's dodgy people selling dodgy keys on our sites, we'll give you 10 times the money that you lost back. We're that confident. All you've got to do is you've got to prove it yourself. All you got to do is give us the keys. So that was the stipulation, and only one developer took them up on the offer, apparently. It's Factorio Devs Woob Software. And 10 months later, down the line, which we are now, following an audit, they found they audited 321 dodgy codes that Factorio Dev Woob Studio Software had found. 198 of those dodgy keys were sold on G2A. So therefore, G2A have paid back Whoop software, 40 grand pretty much, because 198 of the codes at $20 a pop makes 3,960 times by 10, 39 grand. So that's a lot of money that they've given them back. And a quote here from G2A CEO Bartosz Schwarzek has it goes as follows. He's pretty much gloating about the situation. He says, "Data and facts massively confirmed what we were sure about, that out of over 10 million transactions annually, we only have 198 illegally obtained keys sold through our site. That's like 0.000 something percent. That's exactly what we want to prove, that this is super safe and transparent platform." Hang on a minute, Mr. Bartosz Schwarzek. You checked 321 keys, and over 60% of those were illegal. 100% of the audits conducted deemed that you were selling fake, bad keys. That isn't over, like, what, 10 million transactions annually. If you check 10 million transactions, then you could gloat that out of 10 million transactions, only 198 were illegally obtained. But that isn't a data, and that's not a fact, sir. You are mincing this shit up. And this is the CEO. This is the guy who owns the fucking company.
That's
not how facts work.
When you're reading it, I'm like, surely there's something gone wrong here. His name is, well, it sounds like Eastern European, Polish, or Russian or something. Yeah. So maybe there's a translation error, but they didn't audit the 10 million microtransactions. They audited only 321 and still managed to find 198. If you did audit the 10 million, you'd find more than 100. Well, presumably, not guaranteed, but you'd probably find more than 198 dodgy keys.
I think it's
not how it works.
It's illustrative of how much spin has been put on this by the CEO himself. This is him, right? So he's spinning these facts to make it seem like, they're a totally legitimate outlet or whatever. It's definitely not, right? This is 100% of all the companies who've applied for this thing. Were recognized, they were selling fake keys essentially. So 100%, you could think of it that way, right? 100% of the people who made a claim got reimbursed. But the question remains is, why didn't more people take up on, if there were that many companies suffering the loss of stolen keys or whatever, why didn't more people take them up? Well, apparently, according to publisher Tiny Build, who in a statement last year, to be able to track down and provide individual key batches would be an, quote, insane amount of work. And that's what Vlambeer from Vlambeer co-founder Rami Ismail said as well. It just takes so much time to do. So another keynote as well from the report from Games Industry Biz, by the way, they promised that the audit would be independent, but they didn't manage to do that. It's kind of incidental anyway, because the reason why they didn't get an independent auditor is because the independent auditors which they approached did not agree to have the results publicly published. So nobody would agree to that, so they had to conduct these. So I guess that's a fair enough reason. A lot of people are saying, it wasn't an independent audit. Given that reason, it seems fine to me. There's another quote, right, that they've issued to Polygon. And this is G2A responding to Polygon with a statement. And the quote goes as follows: "We would be the first to admit that in our formative years as a company, we took too long to recognize that a small number of individuals were abusing our marketplace. However, the criticism we received was the wake-up call we needed. And over the last years, we have been totally committed to tackling any incidents of fraud on our site. Today, we use some of the most sophisticated proprietary anti-fraud AI technology of any online marketplace for digital products." Now, that's a more reasonable response. And it indicates that, at the very least, that they're saying they're more aware of this, they're more conscientious about this, and they want to stamp it out. There was an offer last year as well. They said if 100 people sign up for this thing, 100 developers sign up for our software thing. We'll develop software ourselves and to cancel or revoke stolen CD keys. Only 19 developers ended up signing up for that, so they didn't go ahead with that. But the contentiousness of contention from developers has always been that they're putting the onus on the devs themselves to correct this and to put this research in order to find the stolen keys or whatever, and that's a lot of work. That's what they're saying, is that if G2A is selling these codes, if they want to make it right, they have to do it themselves. They have to have the motivation, go out there and correct this themselves, rather than put the onus on the developers. But the question remains: is do they really care? Is this all just PR for them? Is it them just trying to seem like they're doing the right thing, just to appear good, so that people can trust them, so that they make more money? That's the lingering question.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like a PR thing, because until any other developers come out and prove that they've got stolen keys and then have to reimburse more money, until that happens, they don't have to realistically prove anything to save themselves. We can shit on them all we like, and a lot of people, like regular gamers who don't have a platform or whatever, they'll shout at them on Twitter all the time and this, that and the other. But most people who don't follow that stuff, who just see a cheap game, they're like, oh yeah, I'll buy it from whatever site I can. Until more developers can find the funds or resources or whatever to challenge it, only then will they actually have to do anything. Because right now, this one developer, they can kind of, it's not really buying them off because it's a refund reimbursement, but it kind of can be interpreted that way, saying, all right, we've given you your $40, your problem solved, no one else is coming to us with a problem, we have no problems. So the only way to really make them do anything and prove if there actually is anything definitely 100% wrong with G2A, because we can't know until any numbers come out, other developers have to do the hard part, and somehow drum up resources and time and people, like staff, to go at them. But it's a very difficult thing, especially for indie developers who barely have enough money to produce their games, which is, it's the driving force. That's how the games that's how their employees are paid. They make a game that makes money, people are paid, and it's a circle. They generally don't have money to then go off and do this extra stuff, which would be beneficial to them, but it's the initial investment and time it takes up is so huge, it's arguably not worth it.
Yeah, and that's the crux of it, isn't it? These are independent developers who are going up against them. It's not like big AAA companies with the backing of a legal team or whatever. It's not big publishers that could do that. And you got to question why. I mean, that's the lingering question, is if these big publishers were seeing a lot of profits, a lot of money being lost because of G2A, wouldn't they have taken up the offer, or just wouldn't we have heard more about them trying to set things right? I don't know. I mean, it's 6.5 dozen. I've always been very negative towards G2A, because remember back in the day when I first heard about them, they always used to offer insurance for your game key. So you'd buy a game key and you'd have to pay an extra $2 for insurance just in case it was a dodgy key. It's like, come on. If that's not an indication that your site is pretty dodgy anyway, then I don't know what is. And then they did the whole loot box thing where you had to buy some shady currency and then use that shady currency to buy a loot box, and then the loot box would spin and then you'd get a game out of it. And it's like, come on, of all the shitstorm of dodgy practices in the games industry, you want to put everything together, essentially. So yeah, I mean, I've always been very negative on G2A, but there's a lingering question. Are they really changing their ways? How can we prove now that that dodgy keys are still being resold and that they are doing enough? Let's hope that, I do like a good redemption story, right? I do recognize the capacity for people to change their ways. However, I'll always question their motivations here, whether it's just giving lip service to appear like they're changing their ways, or they actually genuinely feel like they've done wrong and they want to do it better. But there we go. That's where I'll leave it, I guess. That's our G2A discussion. Let us know what you think down. I mean, obviously, gaming communities going to be pretty negative about any dodgy stuff. But then there's people who were like, well, cheap games. Okay, I don't care. I've never had a problem with G2A. That's a lot of the response that we always get. I've never had a problem with G2A. Why are you ragging on G2A? They're a good site. Maybe they are, and maybe you've been lucky. But a lot of people have fallen foul, especially some developers. So let us know your thoughts anyway. There's no right and wrong in this. It's just about opinions. Let us know yours in the comments. And with that, shall we move on to Maneater? Tell us about your man-eating expeditions.
So, well, it was a lonely Saturday night, and I was in this bar. No, wow. So Maneater is a game, and you eat men, but you're a shark. So I think it's a bit more
right.
It's a bit more justified.
God for that. I can hear the right wing political agenda people getting really upset already.
Yeah, it's not
How dare
gay
you
bar
push
simulator or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, the agenda this game is pushing is that all sharks are bad and they eat people, but sharks don't do that. Sharks are actually beautiful, innocent creatures. I really hope that someone like Peter gets annoyed because they always get pissed off at this shit. And you could certainly say that this game does a great job of vilifying sharks, even more than Hollywood already has. But it's fun. It's stupid, dumb fun. It's really cheesy. Everything in it is like a shark pun or a stupid movie reference, and it's exactly the game I needed right now. It's not perfect at all. There's a lot of problems with it, but it's exactly the game I needed right now, because there's all the Last of Us stuff, and there's a very, very serious story in the game, and then there's all the kind of serious drama outside of it. Looking at Ghost of Tsushima stuff, again, it's a very, very serious story. I've been reading the Walking Dead comics, and they're very, very serious and very brutal. I've been playing the Walking Dead games with my girlfriend. We finished season 1 last week and moved on to season 2, and that's great fun. I should have brought this up ages ago. It's a really good discussion point, but we'll maybe touch on that another time.
Absolutely.
But Maneater, it's stupid. It's literally you swim around as a shark and you eat people. That's the gameplay loop. And if you don't like that, you're not going to like the game, because it's very repetitive in what you do. But so a little bit about it. It's made by Tripwire Interactive, and I'm not that familiar with them, but the biggest titles that I recognize from them are Chivalry and The Killing Floor. And I think they were reasonably well received games, but they're not. I don't think anyone would describe them as their favorite games. And they're still quite a small developer. They're in that sort of weird, huge grey area of indie, but it's not like an ultra indie pixel platformer made by 3 people, but it's not up there as a game like Hellblade, which is like AAA standards in terms of visuals or anything like that. So it's made by Tripwire. It's published by Deep Silver / Koch Media in the UK. They're sort of the same thing. Thank you very much for sending me the code. That's how I'm playing it. It's stupid, dumb fun. You're eating people and you're eating fish, and that's always satisfying. One of the most incredible things about sharks is when they are in the real world, they breach through the water, grab something, and then slam down. It's awesome to watch, and doing that is always fun. Or it's kind of like Doom in that way. It's brutal violence, but it's still very cartoony, and you grab them, you rip them apart, there's blood everywhere. It's the ultimate Jaws fantasy, and I love shark movies. Most of them are shit. Most of them are really terrible, generic, repetitive, and just trying to be Jaws. But I love them. Like Deep Blue Sea, terrible film, but I love it. I think it's brilliant. So this game describes itself, these aren't my words, it describes itself as a shark, with a capital R, shark PG. Like a shark RPG. I didn't think it up. It's not my words. It's their own marketing. See, this gives you the kind of idea of how stupid this game is, and knows it is. It is very self-aware. So there's upgrades and progression in a shark game.
Okay.
It's well, how do you progress as a shark? It's not like you can wear a helmet which adds, plus 5% defense or anything like that. But it kind of is. So you start off as I think you're a bull shark. You're not the great white or anything like that. Because I think bulls are actually meant to be much more aggressive. Don't quote me on that. I don't know.
I think I know how the progression works. I think I figured it out already. You start off as a
Yeah.
baby shark, baby shark, and then you go on to a daddy shark, and then you're a grandpa shark, and you'll have that in your head all day now.
You're not wrong. That's been in my head the entire time. But there's actually more to it. So you start off as a big mama shark, and that's the traditional video game thing. We start off with loads of abilities, and then they do something to you, and then you're back to square one. So you get caught by this guy called Scaly Pete, I think his name is, and he's a shark hunter, and everything's framed as this kind of TV show. Like, what's the one? Is it Duck Dynasty?
Yeah,
the one where it's just a bunch of rednecks out in the swamp in Mississippi throwing dynamite at ducks, calling it hunting. So that's kind of how that's framed, and you're just a shark, mind your own business. He's trying to find the shark that killed his father or some bollocks. It's stupid, but you're not playing this game for a story, are you?
Yeah.
And it knows that. But he catches you, he kills you, rips open that shark's belly and pulls out a little one, a baby shark, marks it with his knife, like you have a big scar like down the side and through your gills and everything, throws him back, and then you're this baby one, and every time you level up you grow a little bit, which is actually one of my favorite things about it. You visibly watch him, well, her, whatever, change and grow with every level up. Sometimes it's quite significant as you transform from the pup stage, which is like the first 5 levels, into the teen stage, which is like the next 5, and then you're an adult. When you're an adult, you're proper fucking ugly. All your teeth are all like mangled and messed up. It's great fun. And as you get bigger, you can eat bigger fish in like one bite. It's one of those stupid RPG things which we complain about all the time, where you do damage numbers to stuff, which I'm like, oh, come on, I can't switch them off, unfortunately. There's other fish and aquatic creatures like crocodiles and alligators. They've got health bars and character levels, so if you're going up against a level 8, it's going to be tougher than you if you're not that high. But then if it's I've complained about it before, it's not really my thing, but it's still fun to swim up to. Humans are the best prey because they're the most satisfying, because they scream, they holler, and they're really stupid. They're really, really stupid. So you can breach out of the water and onto land, because you can survive on land for a few minutes. As you level up, you can live on land for a little bit longer. You can't really do much because you can just kind of flop, and it's hysterical because he goes all droopy and like he's melting because he's not being held up by the water. And then these idiots choose to run into the water. The AI is terrible. So instead of running further away from me as a shark into the place I can't go, they're going into my home. So I just jump in there and get them. They scream. Sometimes they swear, but it's all bleeped because, again, it's like a TV show. And it can be difficult to sympathize or relate to a character who doesn't have a voice and is just a mindless, toothy machine that kills everything it sees. But there's a narrator who is voiced by Chris Parnell, who you may know, who plays Archer, plays Cyril in Archer, who's his like the super nerdy other agent, and Jerry in Rick and Morty. He's in loads of stuff, but they're the first two that popped to my mind. You will have probably seen him in something. He's normally playing like the nerdy guy or the sort of loser husband type things. He's quite a funny guy, and he narrates everything you do. Sometimes he'll drop like interesting shark facts and tell you about real world sharks and how they do this and this, and other times he's just like really sarcastic about everything you do. And you find these collectibles in the world. Well, there's a few collectible different things, but there's some where you find landmarks, and you swim up to it. It's like a road sign. You bite it or tail whip it or whatever, and then it turns out, oh, there's a car that veered off the road, and there's a lovely couple inside holding hands, but they're dead, and he'll make a silly joke about that. So that's one of the kinds of collectibles. Now this is where I get to my kind of problems with it, because it's an open world game. Probably should have said that before. And we were talking about generic open world games earlier in the week, and we got a bunch of fucking flack for it, but we'll get onto that later. And it's a very generic open world in terms of its design. Now, I mean design, not generic in terms of how you play it, because you're a shark, and how many other games allow you to play it as a shark in an open world unless it's a GTA 5 mod, right? That's not what I'm saying. Open world design is generic, and it's not inherently bad, because there's a million generic open world games like Horizon or Days Gone or Spider-Man who do it really, really well. But it is very much like there's a bunch of stuff in the map which you can do, but it's all like collect all of the license plates in the area for a bit of XP and you level up a bit more, or kill X amount of humans or X amount of this type of fish, or kill this like tough enemies like a really big alligator, or just it's very rinse and repeat in that way. And it's probably a limitation of it not being such a story driven game because you're a shark. I wouldn't exactly want it to be like, I'm a shark, but my family was killed, and now I'm going to go take revenge on this human, because that would be stupid.
Yeah, like a family.
This game is stupid, but
like a Finding Nemo type of storyline thing.
Yeah. although anytime I see a barracuda, I kill that motherfucker because he killed Nemo's mother. Spoiler alert: it's in the first 5 minutes. But the game itself is fun. It's just very repetitive, and as I said, eating humans is always super, super satisfying, especially as you get more ferocious as you get bigger. So as I said, as you level up, you get bigger and bigger and bigger. And there is this sort of weird gear system, which they call your evolutions. And you get some which are like passive abilities, so health buffs, or you can survive slightly longer on land or whatever. But then there's other ones which are really monstrous. So you can get different... So it's broken into head, body, fins, tail, and jaw. So you can kind of mix and match. But if you put them all together, you obviously get a bonus, because it is a shark PG after all. But the two that I've got so far are bones, so you can have all these horrible bones sticking out of you. I think I've got bones for your jaw, your body, and fins. So he just looks like this horrific monster. And he went from this tiny little baby shark, and now he's this repulsive mass of jagged bones and teeth. And he looks scary as fuck, and it's great. But it's really it's odd, to say the least, but it does not mean I don't absolutely love it. I think it's hysterical, and especially now that my shark is massive, and I think he's got one more like growth tier to go through. But like I said, it's not a perfect game. It's got more than a few problems on a technical level as well, outside of it being very, very, very repetitive. It's reasonably kind of buggy and janky at times. So there was a couple times when... And it's not even the AI just being stupid, but there was a bit where the human is swimming on top of the water. He's not like underwater, and he's doing front crawl, the animation's going, but he's not actually in the water. There's a few little things like that. Like sometimes if I go to bite an enemy, but something doesn't compute in the middle of that, the shark just shoots straight up, way higher than it really should, and then just comes... You don't die or anything. You're just kind of flung up into the air like a slingshot, and then you come back down. So that's a bit finicky. The camera's a little bit annoying, but that's kind of an inescapable problem, and I'll explain why in just a sec. Because I think it's the similar problem which games like Spider-Man has, or every Spider-Man game, not the most recent one exclusively. Every Spider-Man game, or any game where you need to transition from one state to another, or one surface to another. So in Spider-Man, when you're walking on the regular ground and adhering to the rules of gravity, but then you go into wall crawling, that little transition between them is always a little bit odd. I think it's just something that game makers haven't quite figured out yet, and I have no solution for it. I have no idea how you do fix that, but it's just something that never quite computes. In Maneater, that applies when they call it knifing, which is when you go up and your fin goes through the water, and it's the iconic, holy shit, there's a fucking shark. So when you go up like that, you can't see below the water anymore, you just see the surface, and you're just swimming along like normal. But sometimes when you're in combat fighting other fish or alligators or whatever, you'll end up going to the surface, but then you can't see what's going on because the camera's now stuck up there and you've got to swim down. It's just a bit finicky, and I don't know how you solve it, which is kind of I don't know what they can do about it, and it just seems like an inherent problem with any kind of game where you transition like that. But it's just a bit of an annoyance. It's awkward. That's the best way to describe that. It's just awkward. Yeah. Some of the animations can be a bit janky, but the shark himself moves really well. Everything he does looks natural, because sharks do have an incredible elegance when they swim through the water. I mean, that's part of the reason why they're so terrifying. And it does seem like they've paid a lot of attention to like anatomy and science. Like they've looked up all the science and then some of it they've been like, yeah, we can bend this a little bit to make it a bit more silly and make, like the shark gear or whatever. But other stuff, it's like, yeah, that shark can't do that. Like, as I said, he sort of melts and shrivels when he goes on land, but then he's fixed again when he's in water. So there is a lot of care in that respect, but it just needs, it's reasonably unpolished, but it's certainly not unplayable, although I did have a crash yesterday, which was a bit annoying. I was playing on PS4, by the way, and I think it's available on everything.
Yep.
It's coming to Switch, but not at launch. I think that's coming down later down the line.
Yeah.
And I could absolutely see this being an excellent game on the Switch, just sitting on the sofa, playing in handheld, eating people. What more do you need? Especially, imagine, take the game to the beach, where people are always a little bit on edge about sharks, and play your shark game. I think that'd be really funny. Yeah. But I really like it. I'm going to probably do a review maybe tomorrow at the time of recording, which is Friday, so you might have already seen that. I might do it next week. It's just a matter of when I actually finish it.
Yeah, May the 22nd is its release date, which is tomorrow at the time of recording, but it was, if you're watching this on YouTube, it is 2 days ago, so it's already out. 24th, this should be releasing on YouTube. Note, it's not coming to Steam at launch. It's going to the Epic Store on PC. On Epic. Yeah. So that's why you can't find it on Steam. There's no release date yet on Steam. So yeah, I mean,
it's not a full price one. It's not your 40, 50 quid, whatever. I think it's about 30-ish, depending on where you get it from. So it's slightly lower price than your average, than industry standard these days. And I think that is more than fair.
Yeah.
Because I think if you were asking people to pay $60 for it, I'd be skeptical, and I personally wouldn't think it. But 30, that's much more reasonable.
There you go. Thanks, Henry, for your impressions. Let's move on to the next segment then, the Discord questions, which are put to us by our Patreon community. Now, Patreon is the website which kind of helps us continue our productions. People go there and they pledge money to keep us making videos, without which we wouldn't be still making videos. So thanks everybody who does support us on Patreon. You can go there yourself, patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and from as little as $1 a month you can get early access to these podcasts. We release these on a Friday to the patrons, on Sunday to the public, and there's access to the Discord, the patron only area on the Discord. Join in with the conversations with the community. It's a thriving community now these days. It's also open to the public as well, the Discord, but there's only very limited channels there. If you do want to go and check out the Discord, link in the description of this video. And every single week we read out the names of those chosen ones who have chosen to support us. Now this week we've had one, but it's a good one. David Eller has pledged $10 per month to the cause. We really appreciate it, because YouTube likes to screw us. That's just the fact of it. Without patrons, without people like David Eller sticking his money where his mouth is and supporting us, we couldn't do this. Thank you very much. So let's move on with the questions. These questions are put to us by the Patreon community on the Discord. And the first question is not that Rob Lowe's recurring question. Game of the ages. What is your favourite game from said year, from the year of your birth, plus 1 year every week? Now, I am up to year 2012, so I am 31 this year, turning 32. So my game of this year, it was quite jam-packed, really. I'll run it down. Diablo 3 I played recently on the Switch. That was good. XCOM was an awesome game. And Mass Effect 3 was a pretty decent game. I'm going to say Walking Dead it's a runner-up. These are all run-ups. The Walking Dead original, which you mentioned earlier, we will maybe chat about that in a sec. But there's two which are kind of, I don't know which one to choose from. And now this is FTL, Faster Than Light, my favourite indie game of all time, which it's so good that games are still now, 8 years on, are copying the FTL formula. FTL should be a genre in my eyes. FTL is one of those games that just kind of everyone else copies, and it's because it's an indie game, it doesn't get enough recognition. So that is one of my, actually it has to be my number one for that reason. The other one who was a close second was Crusader Kings 2. I've played ages of Crusader Kings 2, that PC strategy game. However, FTL takes it because of its influence on even games being released today. So I think that's the reason why that has to take it. And talking to The Walking Dead, do you want to briefly mention that, or do you want to save it for another?
Yeah, go on.
Because The Walking Dead, no spoilers, right?
No.
But The Walking Dead has one of the best endings, and I feel like it's one of those games that gets forgotten about because The Walking Dead season 2 wasn't that good, and then it's Michonne or whatever it is, again not that good, and then they just filled that genre with so many kind of recreations of the same type of thing.
Yeah.
That I think that The Walking Dead, the original, if they just left it as it was and not just made carbon copies of it afterwards, it would have been held as one of the best games of the time period. But I feel like it's been lost because of the consecutive entries.
Yeah, I think Telltale is the best example of like overexposure. They had a thing, a solid formula, and then just splurged it everywhere with not a lot of innovation. In some of the other franchises they touched on, like the Batman one, there's a little bit different to the Walking Dead one. The Batman one's actually quite good, but they're not different enough, and there's too many at once. So I feel like it lost a bit of its shine. You're absolutely right. But the first one, which is their big breakthrough and sold incredibly well, got like a bunch of different Game of the Year type awards and whatever. So I've been subjecting my very patient girlfriend to as many video games as she can tolerate, which is very few because she's not a gamer at all. But The Walking Dead, it's minimal on its gameplay in terms of, you know, like, you don't shoot anything really, you don't have to like run and jump on stuff, you just make decisions. And I think a lot of people get mad at this sort of game and just like, oh, it's just a walking simulator. And yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I think there's absolutely a place for this sort of game in the games industry, because it is designed to be an interactive story. You can just say, oh, just make it a movie, but there's so many little permutations of interactivity that you don't see coming, and carrying your choices through from number 1 into number 2 and then into number 3. Although I don't think that was done as well as it was in Mass Effect, and I'm currently playing through Mass Effect, and I'm already seeing that was a better interpretation of that. So I made her take control for pretty much most of it. Sometimes I'd take over just for like a second while she did something, but I was still letting her make pretty much all the decisions. She kept getting annoyed at little things about it, like having to walk everywhere, and there's no like run button or move faster button or anything, which I think, yeah, that's certainly fair. And there's a lot of just like nothing interactions in it, which I think I'd forgotten about, and I'd looking at it with rose tinted glasses. Like, you walk into a room, pick up a thing, just go and put it down, and then you can do it again. Instead of being eliminated. Like, it's not interesting if I don't need to interact with it. If it doesn't give me anything in terms of story or character or interesting interactivity, I don't think it needs to be there. And I think it's interactivity for the sake of it, trying to like, yeah, we're a game. We're definitely a game. We're not a movie. We're a game. See, well, you can engage with stuff. It's like, no one cares. But we had a great time.
How did she like the ending? Did she like it?
I made a different choice to what she made at the end, but for the most part, because we can't really spoil it.
Well, if we can just say spoilers. Skip forward 2 minutes. We're going to discuss the ending of The Walking Dead right now. So, I mean, it's been out for long enough, 8 years to be exact. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, if you want to save it, you definitely should. If you haven't played it, basically save it. Otherwise, skip forward 2 minutes, and we're going to discuss the ending of that game now. So, The Walking Dead spoilers. What does she choose?
Okay, so at the end of The Walking Dead, Lee, your player character, he gets bitten, and we all know what happens when you get bit by a zombie.
Yeah,
you turn into one. It's inevitable. You can't stop it. So at the end, you have a choice to get the little girl who you've been protecting the whole time. She's like 9 years old, Clementine, who's the best character. She can either kill you and euthanize Lee's transition into being a zombie, or you can have her not do that and keep her innocence a little bit more, because she hasn't, I think at that point she hasn't killed anyone yet. She's only killed like a handful of zombies, and even then it was like a split, like a sudden decision. I killed Lee. I euthanized him because I thought that was the right thing to do. She didn't, because she thought Clementine doesn't have to go through with that, so she should not have to deal with that emotional trauma. And I was like, they are both valid arguments.
Yeah.
But you're still a monster. Killing Lee, in my mind, is the correct thing to do.
Absolutely.
For his sake and for Clem's sake and in that world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. She shouldn't suffer any consequences for it because the story carries on the same, but you just get to see Lee as a zombie. Did she shoot him after he turned?
No, she just leaves. Clementine just left the room.
Oh, I see. Okay. I didn't know because obviously I killed him.
Which is the right thing to do.
Yeah, right thing to do. So that's the
Although playing through, I never finished. I've played half of number 2, and now we're onto that again, and we're about where I was up to now. So now it's fresh for me as well.
Yeah.
And we got to the bit again, still in spoiler zone, where Kenny shows up again, and I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
And she was like, "All right, Clem, we've got to sneak through who are these people," and she was like, "It's Kenny." I just did the. The turn where it's like,
Yeah. She's getting into it now.
So that was good fun.
Yeah.
Although we've some bad stuff's happening, people are dying. It's not good.
There you go. So there was our tangent on The Walking Dead. Let's continue with this question, not that Rob Lowe's question, because Henry ran out of years because he's just a young whippersnapper. We've had to improvise, and we've gone to films now. So Henry's up to year 2002. What is your favourite film from that year?
Okay, there's a selection of different films. This isn't including every film because there were quite a few and I couldn't be asked to write them all down, and it's going to go on for too long otherwise. So, 2002 movies: Minority Report, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings: Two Towers, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Catch Me If You Can, Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones, which is not the worst Star Wars movie. It is Phantom Menace, and I will fight anyone who disagrees. The Bourne Identity, Equilibrium, which I can't believe I forgot about last week for a Christian Bale film. It's such a good film. And my choice is 28 Days Later. I don't like horror films because I think they're boring. None of them scare me. Well, not none of them, because 28 Days Later did scare me. I love 28 Days Later. It's one of the best examples of a zombie film where it's not about the zombies, it's about people. People are the real monsters. I mean, that's the narrative every zombie film does these days. Yeah. It wasn't even that original when 28 Days Later did it. But it did it really well. It's really brutal in terms of not necessarily violence, but it's shot really horribly. It's dirty. It looks like shit, and that helps ground you in that world of it being just a shithole. It's brilliant.
Can you believe that's 18 years ago now? Woo! Minority Report, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. 18 years. Was it 18 years? My God. That is a long time.
Yeah, man.
I'm getting old. Thanks for the question, Mr. Not That Rob Lowe, and thanks for the support on Patreon. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we have one from Rage Andy Kid. I'm still not entirely sure how to pronounce that, but I'm just going to go with Rage Andy Kid.
I think it's a reference to Andrew Thingy, the EA CEO. Andrew Wilson. I think that's a reference. I don't know whether I'm right or not. Why don't you clarify it for us next time in the Discord, please, Rage Andy Kid.
Okay, what game would you like to be given a second chance with a remake / reimagined? Because you think the concept and setting was good. Also, I hope my spelling has improved, so it's easier. That's not how you spell easier to read. Also, amazing work as normal. Thank you very much. It's not how you spell easier. Easier has an I, not a Y. I just think that's got to be deliberate, right? Surely. If not, what a cock up.
Yeah.
Rage Andy Kid, my answer for a long overdue remake, which is probably never going to happen, would be the original Metal Gear Solid. I think it's the last of the really major PS1 seminal titles that hasn't gone through its rebirth yet, but that's because of Kojima's not with Konami anymore. They sort of hate each other, so it's messy, and it's probably never going to happen, but I would love it.
Good answer.
I wouldn't change anything. I just want a facelift. Just beautify it.
I would remake Sid Meier's Pirates, right, from the original one, not the remake, not the actual remake, which wasn't that good. I mean, just remake it with modern, gritty kind of open world RPG elements. I think in Mountain Blade 2, right? If you take a Mountain Blade 2 and you apply that type of sandbox open world area onto Sid Meier's Pirates and not have all the cartoony kind of effects and stuff, just modernize it and give it flesh it out like that. I think Sid Meier's Pirates would be an awesome choice for a reimagining, that's for sure. Thanks for the question, Rage Andy Kid. Let's move on to Troska's first question. What gun has given you the most satisfaction to use in any game? For me, it would have to be the 357 revolver from Half-Life 2. Talking to Half-Life 2, the grav gun thing, and that's pretty cool, right? Half-Life.
Yeah, I barely played Half-Life, but I remember I played a little bit, and that grav gun is just fun.
I think
when you run out of bullets, grab an object and fling it at the guy.
Talking of other Valve games, I think Portal's a decent gun. I take that in real life because you could just you could just leave a portal open for wherever your bedroom, just like portal. It's like just
into the fridge,
walk through the exactly whenever you want. That'd be awesome to play around with in the real world. That'd be cool. What about yourself?
I don't think this would be fun to play with in the real world, and I'm taking your meaning of gun to mean any use for the gun, because it's not technically shooting someone, but most satisfying use of the gun would possibly be the Lancer in Gears of War. Chainsawing enemies in Gears of War is always satisfying. It's never not fun. Just watching them go splatter everywhere. Well, if you want one where I actually have to shoot them, maybe the shotgun in Gears of War, because it's really good at. Is it jibbing or is it gibbing when you blow them into bits? Is it jibbing or gibbing? I don't know. It's like the GIF debate. But when you shoot them up close and they splat and there's chunks everywhere. It's great. It's disgusting, but it's very satisfying.
Cool. Thanks for that question. Should we move on?
Okay. The next question, it's a kind of an odd one. And we get told off for non-gaming questions, but here we go. Metalviking. How big should the average toilet be?
I think we can all agree that the answer to this should be about that big. I think there's in the toilet seat, right? About that big.
I mean, it depends on how big your butt is, really, right?
Yeah, I mean that's good for me. So that's how it should be.
So long as I can sit on it and not, feel like I'm going to fall off or fall in, which would be even worse. That'll be right.
It's a very important question that people in that field should be answering. We're not qualified, so I'm just happy with how big they are. So that's what I reckon. I reckon toilets are sized about right. Well, that'd be a quote of the week. Thanks for the question, Mr. Metalviking.
If the toilet itself is too small, you can usually get a slightly bigger style toilet seat, which you can attach, so you can work around it.
Yeah, or you can get a kiddie seat, an attachment, like the cushioned ones that you stick on, and if your butt's too small or whatever. But again, let's move on. Troska, what was the worst public toilet you ever been to? What? Is this
fucking hell?
What was the worst? And I, obviously, as an add-on for the previous question, what was the worst public toilet you have ever been to? Probably in. I don't know why this just jumped to my forefront straight away. The Glastonbury toilets, man. Oh my god! There was just one big kind of Portaloo type of thing, right? And you'd walk up the stairs after queuing for ages, and it was to take a dump. It was like rows and rows of things in one big building, and it was just one big pit underneath with everyone's shit and piss, right? So you could lift the toilet seat and look down and see everyone else shitting and pissing from the other loos on the opposite side or whatever.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I don't know how anybody goes to festivals these days, man. That was disgusting. That was literally the worst toilet I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Because a splashback is one of the worst things that can happen, right? But imagine not only your own toilet water splashing back, but everyone else's shitty pissy water splashing back on your ass. That is the worst. And I don't know why. Yeah. Why we're being asked about toilets, but there you go.
That's my exact experience of going to Reading Festival. When did I go? I think in 2014. Yeah, it's just a series of not even really cubicles. It's a walled box with a hole in the ground. Well, not even the ground. A hole into a pit of some of the worst things you could possibly see.
Yeah, exactly.
That is probably the worst, but I knew what was coming. So I think there's been plenty of other public toilets where you walk in, and because it's just a regular public toilet, you don't expect it, and then you just hit with the smell that we all know. So I think for that reason, the festival toilets, I knew what I was getting into. It didn't shock me because I've already been prepared. Well, I'm just going to say that's my answer though, because I want to move on from toilet talk.
Let's go. Next question is the Metal Shark quiz, and I believe it's mine this week.
Right. Yes, it is. All right, let me just get it up. Okay.
By the way,
things out
before we start, last week's quiz was epic, right? Metal Shark doing riddles, and we've got to guess the character. Now, this is the same this week, right?
Yeah, I've had a look over a couple of them. I haven't looked at the answers yet, but a couple of them I could figure out. A couple of them I have no clue. But yes, so here we go. To balance things out, here's a thinking quiz for Gaz. There's a few PC titles and a couple of ones Henry will know more. So this is likely to be a bit of a challenge. Good luck. Good luck again if you're playing at home. It's like a game show host. Okay, so first up, in a tale of two halves, I'm miles foxier than you, and lend both hands when my best friend is blue.
That's obviously Tails from Sonic, right?
Correct. Tails, Miles Prower from Sonic. His tail being a wordplay, is split into two parts. He's a fox called Miles Prower, as in miles per hour. It's an extra pun. He uses two hands to rescue his best friend, the blue hedgehog, Sonic. So that one I got was quite easy. I didn't read through all of them. All right, next up. This one took a moment or two. Dad said never give up, but his pep remains. I've been brown-nosing since assault piloting ships, not planes. Anthropomorphic, spanning generations, my surname may remind you of cumulus formations.
I have no clue for this one, unfortunately. I'm guessing...
This one's tricky if it's who I think it is.
Dad said never give up, but only his pep remains. Nope. I pass. I don't know this one.
Okay, I think this is Star Fox. His pep remains is Peppy Hare, who is his dad's mate. He flies ships, not planes. He's anthropomorphic.
Yeah.
I think the hard thing is there's no clue to suggest he's a fox, except whatever cumulus formations are. But
that's clouds, right?
Cumulus. Oh yeah, that might be it.
Clouds.
All right, well it's Fox McCloud. That's it. His surname is McCloud. All right, yeah. Okay, gotcha. So Fox McCloud from Star Fox. James McCloud, his dad, said to never give up and was killed with only peppy hair making it back. His nose has changed from black to brown since Star Fox Assault. Well, there you go. With titles spanning across console generations.
There you go.
Okay. Next one. Pale blonde hair and blue-eyed perfection. Yet I only see a mirror, in inverted commas, in my reflection. Daddy was a miner when I was one too. If I can't cure my people, I'll have to end you. I have no idea who this one is.
No, I'm lost too. Again, probably not a game I've played, so I've got to have to pass.
That's the truth.
I haven't got a...
Now,
at least with the other ones, I had a 50-50 chance. Give me two options.
This is... Oh, no, I wouldn't have got that, but I should have, perhaps. Queen Mira, leader of the Locust Horde from Gears of War. You would never know who that is. The Mirror was a play on words, mirror/Mira, okay? Her father mined emulsion, a toxic substance that led to her powers, and now threatens the Locusts, who wish to colonize the surface of the planet to escape the threat. That was hard. That was a really, really tricky one. All right. Some call me Oathbreaker, yet the Titans betrayed me. Did well to give distance from the titular three. Have trouble tanning, even more with women. My saga begins with Ascension. I know this.
So we're talking, what were the keywords there? Oathbreaker, the Titans betrayed me. Titans. So the Titans... Oh, what game have Titans in it? It's a distance from titular 3. The 3. And obviously white skin, trouble tanning. Titans. Oathbreaker, titular 3.
You're going to kick yourself. I don't think you're that familiar with the game series, but you'll know who it is.
I don't know. It's got to be someone. Titans. Is it? I can't even think of the name of the game now. No. Pass.
Give up.
Pass. Give up.
That's got to be Kratos.
Kratos.
From God of War. He broke his oath to the God of War. The re-release of God of War 3 wasn't as well received as its original launch. Kratos is known for his pale skin and has lost more than one wife. Ascension is the 7th installment, yet chronologically it's the 1st.
Right.
So there you
go.
Thanks
for this quiz this week, Metal Shark, because you're showing up my lack of knowledge about these characters, which is great. At least a 50-50 chance gives me a good... But anyway, let's persevere. I'm sure I've got one right already, so at least it's not a bagel. Let's keep going.
All right, voiced by no less than 3 men, I've made it to film as a major villain. I imagine that's meant to be, I've made it to film as a major villain.
Yeah.
Not one to let you pass by... not one to let time pass you by. I'm not very good at reading today. It's a police department you'll oft hear me cry. So he's voiced by 3 people, is on film as a villain, doesn't let time pass you by, you'll hear him cry in a police department.
Pass. I'm sorry, I got no clue. Not even a clue. Not even an idea.
The only thing I can think of is maybe Mad Max, but I'm not very familiar with Mad Max. No, it's Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. Oh, bloody hell. The character is voiced by Tony Rosato in the original game and Greg Berger in Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. In the Resident Evil 3 2020 remake, the character is voiced by David Cockman. Bad luck on that name. He appears in the 2004 film Resident Evil Apocalypse. Cockman. The police department being Stars. Any excuse for Henry to do his impression. Stars. It's easy. Just ruin your throat a little bit.
There you
go. So you've got one. Still just the one.
Just
this
the
is
one.
a hard selection.
Just the one.
Okay. I complain in German and wear a hat. My shoes are green and my name means bat. With teeth like Rob Beckett and a tash rivaling Dali, I've worn success with a self-titled party.
A self-titled party. What games have got something party? I'm not allowed to use Google, am I?
Nope.
That would be cheating now, wouldn't it? Oh, come on. I've only got one.
I complain in German and wear a hat.
Wear a hat. He's got a moustache.
And teeth like Rob Beckett. So in case you don't know, Rob Beckett is an English comedian who has very large teeth, like horse-like white teeth.
Yeah. Tash rivaling Dali. I've won success with a self-titled party. Again, I'm blanking again. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to waste everyone's time.
Nothing on this one. No. Wario. As confirmed by David Spindler, the voice actor, he says, "So ein Mist." His name is a portmanteau of Mario's name and the Japanese word Rawiu, meaning bad. WarioWare, a play on words with Warn. WarioWare, a play on words with Warn. Mega Party has generally been a success. Right, that was a bit of a mouthful, but it's Wario. All right, next up. I might be a queen, although not a lady. Was once a ghost, they'd now call me crazy. They think it's all over, mind. It's with dots in between that. I'm what you create when you leave one behind.
Pass.
Queen?
I don't know. I don't know again. It's probably a game I haven't played again.
Sarah Kerrigan from StarCraft.
Never played
no
StarCraft.
Idea.
I've never played a Warrior game. I've never played StarCraft. I don't think I've played Resident Evil 3 other than the remake demo recently. I played God of War. Never played Gears of War really, and I don't think I played Star Fox so much, but I played Sonic. So, I mean, it's dependent on whether I've played the game in it. There we go. Anyway,
if you don't know, you don't know. There's nothing more you can do. All right. Next up, used to suffer with chronal disassociation, now watching over every nation. A gorilla gave me something to keep track of time, ready to face junk rats in a moment in crime. Tracer, Junkrat's Moment in Crime.
Junkrats are from Overwatch, right? They're a Blizzard thing because they're in
maybe
they're in Junkrats are in Hearthstone too. So that has to be Overwatch. I might get one
he's
here.
He's the big gorilla
and
guy.
There's a gorilla in Overwatch. So what was it again? A gorilla gave me something to keep track of time. So the time one in Overwatch is Tracer, right? Has to be Tracer. It's definitely Tracer, right?
Tracer. Yes, it's Tracer from Overwatch. Her molecules were desynchronized from the flow of time, suffering from chronal disassociation. The Overwatch offers international protection. Winston, a guerrilla scientist, designed the chronal accelerator, a device capable of keeping Tracer anchored in the present. A Moment in Crime is a television show documenting various criminals in the Overwatch universe, with Junkrat being a criminal featured in an episode. Well done. So you got 2 there. So you got 2 out of however many.
Yeah, I promise you I'm not this stupid normally. Next.
Okay. The Order has no quarter and I have no hoe. H-O-E, so this could be the garden tool. But carry another garden tool though. Yeah, okay, so he's got a garden tool. People see through me wearing my locket. If I land on your head onwards, I rock it. If I land on your head onwards, I rock it. Okay.
So if you land on your head, you rock it. You've got a garden tool. So the other garden tool I can think of is shovel, and I know that Shovel Knight. Although not played it, I've watched a documentary about the making of it, where you do bounce on people's heads in that game. I'm going to go for Shovel Knight.
That sounds like a good choice. I wouldn't have been able to get that one. And you're right, it is Shovel Knight. He fights against the Order of No Quarter with a shovel. His locket turns him invisible, and his shovel works like a pogo stick when landing on an enemy's head. Oh, well done. So that's 3.
Okay.
All right, final one. This has gone on for a long time. As a preteen, I shot a man, later caught stealing before joining a gang. The world I knew is fading, yet I stay. And I come back again once you blow me away. So
read that again.
Shot a man as a child.
As a preteen, I shot a man. The world I knew was fading.
Yes. As a preteen, I shot a man, later caught stealing before joining a gang. The world I knew is fading, and yet I stay. I'll come back again once you blow me away.
So, world is fading. There's a gang. And came back, I'll blow you once you blow me away. The only game I can think, because I'm playing it now, the world is fading, is Red Dead Redemption 2, right? There's a gang in that. Has to be Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Yeah, that fits. As a preteen, I shot a man, later caught stealing before joining a gang. I think this has to be. Is it? It's not Arthur, is it? Is it Arthur Morgan? I don't think it's Arthur Morgan.
It's either Arthur or John.
Yeah, I think it's John. I think it has to be John.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think it's Arthur, but we'll see. Oh no, it's John. John from Red Dead Redemption. He killed a man aged 11 and joined the Vandalin gang after being caught stealing at age 12. The Old West is being replaced with technology, and at the end of Undead Redemption, Undead Nightmare, I think it's called, John Marston comes back to life after facing a firing squad at the end of the main game. Spoiler alert.
Too late now. Okay.
So you got what, 3?
I got 3.
No, 4.
I got 4.
I think.
I redeemed myself. I was like 1 for 6. Oh, 1 for 7. I got the last 3, thankfully. I mean, those are games that I've kind of played. Oh, well, I didn't play Shovel Knight, but I mean, obviously the Red Dead one. It's very dependent now. If you've played the games, it's a lot easier. So, yeah, I hadn't played those games. So, apologies for appearing stupid there. Maybe I am pretty stupid anyway. Thanks for the quiz anyway, Metal Shark. A lot of people commented on last week's podcast saying that they really enjoyed the Ridley quiz. One of their favourite parts. So really appreciate the effort that you go to with those questions. Even though I just showed myself as an idiot,
they're hard. They're hard. It shows how smart you are making them so hard.
There you go. Let's move on to the next question. I saw an interesting death match. Imagine. I wanted to know who would win. I think it would be close between. All right, so we've got 6 competitors here. We've got Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones. We've got the man in the middle, who I don't know. Is he?
That's the guy from Princess Bride. What's his name? Inigo Montoya.
Yeah.
You killed my father.
We've got him. We've got Conan, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan.
Yeah.
The Barbarian. Bottom left, we have... Who the hell is that?
That's Eowyn from Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Eowyn from Lord of the Rings, Two Towers.
She's just a human lady. There's nothing particularly special about her.
We have the Highlander at the bottom in the middle. So
yes,
there can be only one. And then bottom right, we've got... what the bloody hell's the name?
The girl from Kill Bill. The bride? Is she the bride?
Yeah. Kill Bill's...
Uma Thurman's
character
in Kill
which
Bill.
is the bride, essentially. Her name is the bride, according to this. So we've got Brienne of Tarth, that dude that you read out, Conan, the Two Towers lady, Highlander, and the bride. Who do you think would win?
My instinct is to say Conan because he's a barbarian and he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, so he's immediately stronger than all of this lot.
True.
He will just rip them apart.
But, I mean, I'd put good money on Brienne of Tarth, right? She might be an outsider, but...
She's decent. She is decent.
But, listen, hear me out, right? She went toe-to-toe with the best swordsman in the whole of the Westeros, which was Jaime Lannister, right? She went toe-to-toe with him, held her own, and didn't lose, right? And he was the best swordsman in the whole of Westeros. She also defeated the Hound. She fought the Hound.
Yeah.
So, if someone who's equal to the best swordsman in the whole of Westeros, she's got a good chance, right? I'm not fancying bottom left much because, like you said, she's just a...
Oh, no, there's literally nothing special about. She's not a knight or a particularly. She's a decent enough warrior, and she does kill the Witch King. Spoiler alert. But
I like how you say spoiler after the spoiler.
But it's like a minor thing. Like whatever. Yeah. She has help from Merry as well, and it's a great moment. But I wouldn't say she's a particularly au fait swordswoman. Aragorn being in there, that would be a much more interesting. Situation.
I think Conan and Brienne of Tarth would be a good matchup in the final, I think. Although, there's some other good ones there.
I'm going to give it to Conan personally.
Yeah, I mean, he's a brute. Just look at the size of him. But there you go.
Yeah.
But there you go. Ethan Ben answers, I think it would be a close being Conan and Inigo. Is that the guy in the middle at the top? Obviously, depending on who killed his father and what he's been using his sword in.
Yeah, so his whole shtick is that my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Right. Time to die, and that's like his motivation. So, if his final enemy is the one who killed his father, he'd have an edge.
There you go. Thanks for the question, Earthworm Ben. Let's move on.
Okay. Sorry, I am dying in this heat. I wish it was a swig of something more interesting, but I need to quench my thirst. M8 so 1994. It's the return of 1994. Every time you guys talk about your favourite game reviewers, you always forget to mention the best reviewer on YouTube, G-Man Lives. As a fellow Australian, I am offended. I insist that you watch some of his reviews and let me know what you think of them. Thank me later. I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah, me either. So we're definitely going to have to...
I can't do anything for you here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to search him up and get back to you on that one. We can't do this research now. 335,000 subscribers, so he's got a decent word to say. We'll check him out. Thanks for the recommendation. Let's move on. Superfleet, how diddly do, guys? We have seen that some game franchises have modified their playstyle over time. Some fans have enjoyed, some not so. Examples being Resident Evil from survival horror to action to horror action, etc. Assassin's Creed from stealth to whatever the hell it is classified as now. I added the hell in. There are Are there any game franchises that you think need a new remodel to give it new life? Cheers. Interesting question. Any answers, Henry? Any thoughts? New life?
I don't know if anything. I don't know if there's any significant franchises I'm waiting for a comeback for. There's definitely some, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Red Faction's one I always talk about, but that's solely for destruction mechanics. So if you brought that back and just modernized it a bit,
yeah,
I guess. But I don't know.
Red Faction's a good call. I can't think of any. I think got to be a new remodel. The obvious one is Fallout, right? You do some fresh models on those characters. remodel Fallout 76 to actually be a Fallout game. Yeah, I think Fallout. I think what started to happen, the rot in Fallout 4 for me was the settlement building. I think if you take that out of Fallout 4, the game's so much better for me personally. Obviously, a lot of people like that. A lot of people got onto Fallout because of the settlement building, because it's like, you know, a Minecraft but in a post-apocalyptic world. You can build up stuff, and you know, it's great. Let's put a nice pillow, a nice frame, a nice picture on our walls, and just like play Happy Families. That isn't for me. I would take that all back and go back to the original concept of Fallout, where you're exploring, making tough decisions. Do you blow up Megaton, or do you save it? Do you let people run through Tenpenny Tower? Is it Tenpenny Tower? Do you let all the ghouls into Tenpenny Tower, or do you harbour? You know, it's those decisions that make a good Fallout game. It's not these stupid. Where am I going to put my cooker? Am I going to get a neon sign outside my house to let people know that this is where I live? Come, we're all friends here, guys. That isn't Fallout. God Almighty, what have they done to Fallout? Anyway, thanks for the question, Super Flea. Last question today. Troska, you answered, didn't you? Red Faction, yeah. Troska,
yeah.
What do you think about a Bourne Identity game in the style of Splinter Cell, Hitman? Do you think it could work?
Absolutely. I really like the Bourne movies. I haven't seen the latest one, which was, I think it was just called Jason Bourne, because people don't know how to name things anymore. It really upsets me. Even games I like don't know how to do it. Doom 2016, why is it called Doom? God of War 2018, why is it called God of War? We've already had that. I'm not gonna let it go. Just let it go. Yeah, I really like the Bourne Identity movies, but I think the thing, more so than it being ultra stealthy like Splinter Cell, or infiltrating like in plain clothes or whatever as Hitman, for me, Bourne Identity would have to have really, really, really tight hand-to-hand combat, because that's one of the things I really like the Bourne movies for. You can criticize them for but popularizing shaky cam, which every action movie now uses, and it's really difficult to see the action. But when it's used in the Bourne Identity, it's actually a really good narrative device to help tell the chaos of the situation, whatever. But the choreography is really kind of fast, and I think it'd have to be like adaptive, because in one of them, doesn't he kill a guy with a pen or a rolled up newspaper, whereas the other guy has a knife? Like, you put me in situations like that. I'm not as fussed about the stealth, although I love stealth games. But for me, the Bourne Identity game would have to have like really adaptive combat, where I could use the environment in interesting ways. Cool.
That's it. That rounds up our questions. We're going to have to move on. We're running kind of, not running late yet, but we're getting there. So thanks everybody this week for all of your questions. There was a whole host of them, and we really appreciate them. It does get us thinking. Tests are grey matters, that's for sure. So with that, we are going to move on to the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. You're up, Henry.
So this one, it takes a little bit of mental gymnastics to translate, because it's just fucking stupid. So I made a video the other day talking about Ghost of Tsushima, an interview with Ghost of Sushi somewhere in Japan. The creative director did an interview explaining why they haven't gone with a karma system. A lot of people got mad. Well, not mad, but completely disagreed. I like karma systems, and I think a lot of people misinterpreted what I meant, which is certainly partially my fault because I maybe didn't make it clear. But this person, well, we'll get onto other comments about that. That's coming in a minute. Mm-hmm. This person basically accuses, well, not directly, because it doesn't explicitly say it, but basically accuses me of being racist or bigoted or prejudiced, whatever, when this person is doing that exact thing. So this is from Arknid 001. It's not Arachnid, apparently, it's just Arknid. It's a history game about Mongol invasion of Japan. WTF do you think? So I guess this is saying, why would a history game, historical, quote-unquote historically accurate game, have a karma or morality type system? Why you Westerners so ignorant? Why you person of indeterminate cultural origin not able to speak with correct grammar? Perhaps it's because English isn't their first language. It explain why you always get conflict with Asia because you don't even care to learn their spelt incorrectly. It's easier. Their history or culture. It's not spelt THEIR. It's THERE. So there's a lot wrong with this.
We can give him a pass on the grammar, right? Give him a pass on the grammar. He's obviously... let's assume he's Asian.
It seems to... Yeah, based on the fact that he mentions getting into conflict with Asia, it seems to suggest that this person is from that part of the world. Fine, cool, whatever. But why are you Westerners so ignorant? You're calling me ignorant of Asian culture and history because of my opinion about something, but more than that, because I am a Westerner. That very assumption or political stance is prejudiced and bigoted and ignorant.
Absolutely.
Because you are assuming, based on my origin of being from the West, from the UK, something I have no control over. I didn't fucking choose that.
Certainly didn't choose to be English. You would choose to be bloody English, man.
Why would I choose to be English? If I could choose to be any nationality, I'd choose to be Australian, because they're all automatically really, really good looking. But yeah, so you're assuming because I'm from the West that I don't understand Asian history or culture, even though we've done a bunch of videos all about Ghost of Tsushima. We did one a little while ago from when they did a state of play, not the most recent one, I think it was one before, when I told you loads about the history and the different weapons and focusing on this time period and the what happened in Tsushima. It wasn't loads of detail, and I can't expect every commenter to have watched every video we've ever done on anything, but you can't assume based on one video that I've never understood anything ever. I mean, people do that all the time, but you shouldn't. It's that's ignorant, and I just feel like it's a really stupid opinion to have. That you can disagree. There's a couple of people who very civilly had a bit of a discussion, disagreed that a historical game should have a morality system, and I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. I just think it could be interesting, and there is room for it.
Yeah.
But calling me ignorant, and why are you Westerners so ignorant? You're grouping me into a group and saying this is why you always get into conflict with Asia. I've never been in a conflict with Asia. I don't know what you're talking about. My people.
He's generalising.
I've never been to war in Asia.
Yeah.
Take your fucking prejudices.
Don't deny it, Henry.
And do one.
Stop denying that you've been to war in Asia. Always getting into these conflicts with Asia. You. I mean, I say it all the time. You get into the conflict, but I think
what am I like?
It's a very ignorant and generalistic comment that to tar you with a very wide brush, essentially, and literally being hypocritical about the thing that he's talking against. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And the fact that he's gone personal with it, right? All you're doing is sharing your opinion, sharing the news, sharing your opinion, asking other people what they think. That's all it is. It's not, this is the fact, this is exactly what it is because I think it.
So many people took it like that.
That's not what this channel is, right? And to get personal about that and start attacking your, where you're from, who you are because of where you're from, start attacking on that level because of a YouTube video, really, literally Get a life, man. Honestly, what are you doing with your life? If you're on the internet doing this and venting in this way, for God's sake, have a word with yourself. This isn't healthy. This is almost mentally imbalanced, is what I would call this. Get a grip, man. Honestly.
Yeah. And I could pick out a number of specific comments, but I can't really be asked because there's too many, and there's too many different nice ones and civil ones versus like just fucking rude and unpleasant ones. But so this karma thing, I think a lot of people assumed when I said a morality system that I meant a binary one, like in Infamous, which is you're either good or you're bad. And I said that in the video that that's a bad system. I think this may be where people got confused, or I didn't quite explain it correctly. Perhaps it's my fault. I don't know. But some of the best games around have morality systems that aren't binary. BioWare games like Mass Effect has a morality system. It's not as binary as some other ones, but it's there. And so I feel like a lot of these people are saying morality systems never work. I'm like, no, binary ones often are bad. What I was saying, and again, perhaps I didn't communicate this properly, is that in a game like Ghost of Tsushima, where your character is specifically traveling, he's at a turning point in his life where he either goes one way or the other. Giving the player control over that sounds like a really interesting proposal, an interesting opportunity that naturally affords that kind of gameplay interaction, which will then influence story. Doesn't necessarily make it a good thing or a bad thing if they do or don't do it, because they haven't played the game yet. We'll wait and see. If they had put it in, it could have made the game worse. Since they haven't put it in the game, it may have made it better. Like whatever. But there's so many games with really good morality systems, like Mass Effect, or as you touched on earlier, Fallout 3. I've barely played any of Fallout 3, but the choice to destroy Megaton is a huge decision, which is a morality system, because it benefits you with some people and benefits you with others and hinders you with others. So there is a morality question. It's not black and white, and that's why it's good. Yeah. Again, I'm not that mad at people for getting confused, because I must have just said something wrong. But there's a lot of people who are just... There was one guy who did like the fake quote thing, which annoys me. Like something in quotes with something I just didn't say.
Yeah. Putting words in your mouth.
I'll try and find that one, but maybe I'll find it in a bit.
Yeah, should we move on to more questions? So yeah, obviously there's more questions on this video, and there was a video last week I want to touch on first that we did together. We did the voiceover video reacting to the gameplay, right, for Ghost of Tsushima. Now, Mr. Joseph King, patron, I do believe this is the patron dude, right? He comments, "Geez, guys, why do you both sound so down about this game? I thought you'd both be excited for it. And Gaz, the wind and animal guides sound like something you've been gagging for years, as you're all about the immersion. I was blown away by this game and definitely will be buying it." I think the problem, Joe, is that we have been worn down by so many shitty generic games in the past that it's just left a sour taste, so that when you see a proposition, you don't want to get too excited about it, just in case it lets you down again, because that expectation that you build ultimately, or a lot of the times in the past, has led to such disappointment, right? It's the No Man's Sky effect, I like to call it. Let's not get too excited about it. If the game's good, we can get excited about it when it's good. Let's just temper the excitement just a little bit, just to save my weak, fragile heart from being broken again. That's essentially what I'm doing. So yeah, there are a lot of concerns and unanswered questions, right? If we sound down about it, the way I see it, I'm definitely neutral. I'm appreciating some of the good things, and I'm also raising questions about the negative things. So I'm kind of balanced. That's the way I see it. But from somebody who's totally hyped about it, my position seems like I'm down, right? And I think that's the way you're looking at it. I don't think I'm down. I think I'm just very healthily skeptical. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm definitely in the more positive part, because even if it is, and I explained this in the video, and evidently a lot of people just saw the thumbnail and title and everything and got upset about it. Even if it is like a generic Assassin's Creed-esque game, that's exactly what personally I'm looking for. So, and I think a lot of people who got the most annoyed were annoyed with the Assassin's Creed comparison because they don't like Assassin's Creed or what Assassin's Creed's become, because Assassin's Creed is arguably the most emblematic game of open world saturation and open world generic world design. That's what we're talking about. Open world design in terms of liberating camps for no reason other than to liberate camps. It's not compelling gameplay, it's repetitive, and it doesn't forward the story or anything meaningful. It's just busy work. I don't include games like The Witcher 3 as a generic open world, because pretty much every quest you could maybe say some of them are busy work, but every quest has its own arc. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, it has stuff that goes on, it has character interactions which are meaningful, and so I don't think that's a generic open world game. There's no towers to climb or any of that shit. We don't know if that's the case here, and that's what it was cautious speculation and skeptical speculation. That was quite fun to say. That may be the case here. Personally, I wouldn't even mind that. I want an Assassin's Creed type game in this setting, and the wind blowing stuff and following the foxes, that's awesome. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I think just a lot of people are upset with the Assassin's Creed comparison, even though it's actually like, in terms of when I think of Assassin's Creed, there are a few things that pop into my head in terms of that franchise: historical, third-person action adventure, open world, stealth, and there was one more thing, but I can't remember what it was. But those four things, they all apply here. So following those descriptors, this game could be an Assassin's Creed game, but it's not, and I'm rambling, and we need to move on to something else before I keep rambling.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments on... The problem is there's a lot of comments. Made 2 videos leading with Ghost of Tsushima in the last week, so therefore there's a lot of comments on this, and one of them was like, Firmac2 commented, dislike for the clickbait. And it was on that video, it was like the karma system. Ghost of Tsushima won't have a karma system was exactly what it said, right? So Ghost of Tsushima drops Infamous's best feature, and I said, I replied quite nicely, I should say, to him. Thanks for the comment and the dislike, but why is it clickbait? I mean, I'm curious why you think it's clickbait. He comes back with, because they are completely unrelated. Might as well say the game won't let you call lightning from the sky. They also never mentioned that they will put it in, and then they double back on it. It was also not Infamous's best feature, although it is subjective. So we never said that they put it in and double back on it. I don't think you ever implied that they'd put it in the title or thumbnail.
Nope.
That they'd put it in and taken it out.
If anything, this is almost a follow-up to my closing comments on the last video, where I said, I wonder if they are going to do this, and now they've confirmed they're not doing it.
There you go. A nice comment here. Cape Fury says on the last week's podcast, oh damn, the riddles for Metal Shock was awesome. So that's a nice positive vibe there. Definitely a lot of people sharing that sentiment in the comments on last week's podcast. Do you have any more?
There's one in particular which I thought was a really stupid argument, and some of the one of the other replies, not from the original person, was pretty toxic, but I can't seem to find. I'm not gonna read out that one anyway, so I don't want to give it a platform or anything like that.
Yeah.
But so it was pretty much saying, the first guy, it was making a joke, and he did it, the SpongeBob meme where it's like the capital letters and lowercase letters to make it sound stupid. It was something like us saying, don't judge The Last of Us 2 before you've played it, and then criticizing us for judging this game, again, having not played it. So I commented back saying, when we're saying don't judge The Last of Us 2, we're saying don't judge the story based on a few hours of cutscenes and scripts and all that shit. And you can certainly have expectations and preconceptions, and those expectations and preconceptions may be proved correct. You may be right that it is X, Y, Z, but you don't know for sure, so you can't be 100% sure. You're absolutely within your rights to not buy the game based on what you have seen, because you don't like it. It's completely fine. But you can't say with 100% certainty that XYZ means this, because you don't have the context. What you can judge is the gameplay, because we have seen some gameplay in some trailers, and a lot of these leaks did involve gameplay, so you can judge that. You can say the shooting looks wonky, it looks a bit buggy, although it's an early build, so they argue that could be fixed. What we're judging here in that video was the gameplay we were seeing and speculating, which, yeah, you could say that is judgmental, but it's still speculation based on what we are actually seeing that is immediately in front of us. We didn't say anything about the story because we haven't got the context of the story. It's like judging the whole story on one trailer, which a lot of people do anyway, and I think we're all a little bit guilty of, but it doesn't make it right. And I can't find that actual comment, but that was, pretty much the whole gist of it.
Okay, I got another comment here, and we're going to have to wrap this up soon because I think we've gone over the hour and a half. It was on last week's podcast. V-Ski says, Henry makes the same expression at the start of every podcast. Is that true? Do you?
I can't... Reading that, because Shark posted it in the Discord as well, so I kind of made a sort of different face this time, consciously. I don't know. It's not making a face. It's my face trying to look at the camera.
You just got a stupid
while
face,
Gaz is
Henry.
doing the introduction. I will not dispute that. That was one comment someone put on the gameplay discussion last week, saying these guys are a pair of doofuses or something. So I just commented back, I'm not going to dispute that. Like, you're not wrong. But
I think I've proven that on my
sorry
quiz this
that
week.
my I'm sorry that my face isn't going blah, 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 while I'm trying to let Gaz do a little introduction. But I will try to be better for you.
Try and be better with your faces, goddammit. Of all the things you could be criticised for, it's those faces at the start of the podcast that get me, Henry.
It's just it's a neutral face. It's a neutral face of me just going...
Got a derpy neutral face, man. That's your problem.
Just waiting.
I've got another nice comment here. Storm Rain says the Discord emojis are excellent. Talking about all the emojis created, again, by Metal Shark, MVP of this week. He just makes so many... He takes our faces out of context and makes emojis out of them. We're talking about like the shocked faces now, which we haven't done this week because it didn't work last week on a podcast, if you noticed. We didn't get that many views.
Thank God, because I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, so that dispels that myth that the shocked faces get loads of views. So let that be a lesson to everyone who's looking to clickbait on YouTube. Apparently you've just got to imply that a feature was going to be in the game and not to get people to click and comment and dislike, because that's the only way to click. That's clickbait, apparently. Not the shock faces, but there we go. I think I'm done. I'm all out of motivation to read comments about, especially about Ghost of Tsushima. Anyway, I don't know about you. Do you have any more?
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly. I've been so fucking exhausted by the constant stream of bollocks that's been going around. I think it's because we're all locked inside.
It is exhausting.
We can't go outside. We're kind of just a little bit pent up, especially as it's getting a bit warmer now. But certainly in this room, I'm fucking roasting. People are a little bit pent up and frustrated about stuff, and it's an unpleasant gaming discourse.
No, exactly.
We don't.
I empathise with you.
If we can avoid it, we can, and we want to try and foster positive, not necessarily entirely positive, like ignoring the negatives, but civil, pleasant discourse here on PGG.
I empathise with you because having gone through the same a lot in the past, and you're holding the ship down now in terms of content. These during the lockdown, you've been churning them out day in day out, and there's going to be a touchy subject where you upset a bunch of Sony ponies or whatever. You're not talking about my favourite game in the way that I like, so I'm going to get upset. And you bear a blunt with that, but you have to remember that these are not the loyal following or the loyal followers of the channel. These are just people who happened across our videos and like, who's this guy sharing his opinion about the game that I like? They're just dickheads, and they won't ever be back. Right? You just don't have to worry about them. And that's what I boil it down to. All right, they can't handle your opinion on the internet. Like, it's them that needs to get a life. Honestly, you should take comfort from the fact that their opinions literally mean nothing and nobody listens to them. However, you get paid to share yours, dude. You know what I mean? You're literally making a living out of sharing it. So fuck them and just do what you do. There we go. That's right.
And the thing is, the likes are normally the same, so people still agree. There's just more people coming in who disagree.
Well, that's how you know you've done a good job, right? Because your video's being shared in the algorithm and all the randos are coming in and insulting you. If you get loads of insults on one video, you know that the video's hooked in the algorithm and you've got a popular video. That's a sign of success in my book. Anyway,
we should just start spreading fake news and lies. It's just easier. Just make stuff
there we
up.
go. No, we've got far too much integrity for that. Let's move on to the final segment of this week, the bad dad joke of the week. All right, Henry.
Somehow, every week, I forget about the bad dad joke. I'm always like, the comments are the final one, but the dad joke always comes back and catches me off guard.
Some people live for the bad dad joke. Are you ready? What do you call a woman setting fire to a credit card bill?
I don't know. What do you call a woman setting fire to a credit card bill?
Bernadette.
I thought you were literally just going to say, my wife, or something like that.
We don't have credit card bills. Well, she does actually. To be fair, she's the only one who uses a credit card. But that is it. That is our bad dad joke of the week, and that is our podcast of this week. If you have listened to our voices for over an hour and a half, then you must enjoy the pleasant sounds of our voices. I mean, each to their own is what I say. However, if you do enjoy our content, I would urge you to please consider supporting us bringing you this content, because it is very difficult to keep making content on YouTube and pay the bills. Essentially, we struggle every single week, right? So if you do want to help us help us to make this continued content on YouTube, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And with that, I will say thank you to everybody who does support us on Patreon. Thank you to Henry for joining me today. And on his behalf and my behalf, we will see you again in the next one. Bye for now.